Hi, good morning, everybody. Happy Bosses and Breakfast Day. Hold on a second. Let me make sure this is right. Every single time I get on here, my audio is never right. So, okay, it is today. Hi, everybody. I actually have the official Bosses and Breakfast cup today. It's super full, but how's it going? What are you drinking and where are you joining us from? So, Jacqueline is just, hey, good morning.
Good morning. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just asking them what they were drinking. I have the official mug today. I feel like this is like finding a unicorn in the so many mugs that I have. So I got it today.
Hey, I want to know what everyone's mug is. Is anyone? What's the funniest, coolest mug that someone is drinking out of right now? What's on it? Anything?
Hold on a second. I'm going to go off video for just a second. Okay.
Okay. I am just getting us all queued up. Do you ever feel like you had the whole morning set and then somehow it always is just not working? Okay. Coffee and yogurt. I'm drinking Kenko smoothie because Annika got me addicted. I'm in Denver. What's a Kenko smoothie? What is this magic and unicorns? We've got Canada in the house. Okay. Zimia says this may be wine. #mom life. That's funny. I've seen those.
Okay. I had to open my curtain. I realized I had no like natural light going on.
I messaged you that I didn't have access to the calendar. So if you want to just
yeah, it's the same calendar that we always have.
Okay. Our Google Calendar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, no wonder. No, the different purple. Oh, great. Now I have to go back and change all of these.
I wonder if you can copy. Okay. Anyways, you can just add me in, share that calendar with me. But if you want to just put it in the chat.
Hello at, yeah.
Okay. So Mina and I yesterday were working on marketing calendar for the business and sort of really identified what we're talking about over the next few months because we're gearing up for the summer where we want to, kind of, not that we haven't been with our children for a year, but that we want to definitely think about the summer and that transition into the summer where we're going to be with the kids more. And so we really yesterday kind of jumped on top of our schedule. So that's what I'm asking about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for all of you, I think you all know that we were talking last week about Q2 just beginning, for example, and Q3 is the summertime, or the end of Q2 and beginning of Q3 is summertime. So what is that going to look like for all of you? Because you kind of have to have that in mind, right? End in mind. And then it'll be easier for us to do things. Like I know that Sarah Wagner of Heartland Lettering. I'm sure you all know her since we talk about her all the time. But she's having pool Fridays, for example, with her daughter. So I think definitely I want some sort of pool Friday over here as well.
All right. In the chat, I just need to get us on Instagram and I wanted to put the topic. So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about limiting beliefs. So I don't know how we want to phrase that, but originally Jack and I were talking about all these things that we hear. Most times it's from makers, but I will tell you it's overall. It's just in general. So I don't know if we want to say limiting beliefs, biggest limiting beliefs from makers or from, product bosses.
All right. I'm going to put limiting beliefs of makers and manufacturers. Add details. I am going to get us live.
That is one question. Annika, I drink Kenko too. It's not my favorite.
Mina, be ready. Are you ready to go on Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay. Even though my light is just not as awesome. Let's get this brighter. I don't know. Okay, let's do this. Hey everyone, Bosses and Breakfast here. We're excited today. We are going to announce our big winner of the book giveaway of Ali Kriegsman of How to Build a Goddamn Empire. A lot of you entered that on Instagram, and today is the giveaway for that. And then also we're going to talk about limiting beliefs of makers and manufacturers and product bosses. So say hello as you're joining. Thank you for our Facebook friends that have that gear into the first 5 minutes of us just chit-chatting. So I'm going to wait for Mina to ask to join over here. and bring her on. Did you request to join yet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not showing up.
It's not giving me the prompt for some reason. Okay, there it goes.
Okay. Hello, Murphy's Mellows and Bakery Tea Co. There's Mina. Let's get her on. Okay. And then we'll get to chatting. Good morning, Pin Frisker. Tartan Chickadee. Hi.
Hey, good morning.
Good
It
morning.
was running a little bit slow, so I don't know, for asking me to join. Yeah, I was talking about Kenko. If for
Kenko
all of you
coffee?
no, it's actually freeze-dried smoothie mix. And I like it though because I sneak stuff into my kids' stuff and I use that. But as far as like we're talking about what we're drinking this morning. So everybody on Instagram, let us know what you're drinking. And Annika from Hey Mavens, she drinks Kenko, and so do I. But I found that I don't actually like it how they recommend it. So they recommend you just put it in water, shake it up, and then you drink it. And it's on the go, and it's literally just like in like freeze dried organic fruits and vegetables. But I like putting it into smoothies and food and sneaking it into my kids' foods. And so that's how I use it. But it's great. It's actually a brilliant product. I just don't love it the exact way that they recommend.
Valerie said, because Valerie Ackley said she drinks it. So she says they freeze dried fruit. So you just mix it with liquid. And she says it's incredible. So that's amazing.
And and you can do it like with a banana, which is a little bit better. I always found it to be grainy, but I don't know. Super picky with water.
Drinking for me, like my husband just tried to give me one of his bulletproof drink smoothie things. It's not even a smoothie. It's like that powder you add to stuff.
Oh,
Like he doesn't understand why. He's like, just drink it. And I was like, I have something that I can't for some reason. When I drink stuff, it has to be very specific in the texture and the taste, or it has to be really cold. Like I have to have a lot of ice in it to drink like stuff. So really the best way to get things is like a smoothie that I, cover the whole taste. But that's why I'm not I'm not drinking it.
I'm drinking a smoothie this morning.
I'm eating a protein bar.
Oh, you are? Oh, nice. I hit 10,000 steps yesterday. It's like some people do that every day, but it was a big deal because I've been wanting to hit 10,000 steps. And last night I actually went on that. If you guys ever watched my reels from the summer that my husband and I did, that were like the influencer that Jacqueline and James did. And there was a exercise machine that I said that I used. And I rarely have used it. And everybody was like, it was really funny because people were like, did you rent that machine for the day? And blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I went on that last night just to get the last bit of my steps in because it was dark outside. And I felt like so extremely proud of myself. So that's what
reminds me. Yeah, so Mina and I, our goal for the rest of the year is to start to try and really balance our taking care of ourselves. We keep talking about this, so we're trying to do it. We're trying to hold each other accountable.
It's like we're really putting it out in the universe.
So I'm wearing a Fitbit that I got when I had my daughter, who's now almost 6, was like 2. So the last time it tracked was like 2018, and I was like looking at my sleep score or my sleep, and it was like 4 hours of sleep this night and 1.5 hours of sleep that night because I wasn't sleeping. Like she definitely had issues with sleeping for a couple of years. So I was like, oh, that was my life a couple of years ago. But Mina and I are trying to stay on top of our steps. So we're trying to do walk and talks. I know a lot of you listen to the podcast while you're walking, but we're really just trying to get moving. And I read yesterday, it was an article about CDC, I don't know who, wants us to get about 150 minutes of activity a week. And so that really breaks down to 22 minutes a day. And 22 minutes doesn't sound crazy. I know if we walk, right? If you and I walk, that's 22 minutes.
If we did a fraction of how much we talk to each other,
walking,
we'd be golden.
Oh my God. We'd be like Chrissy Teigen. But no, of course not. But the other thing I read, so this is something for all of you to think about, is that the 22 minutes do not need to be consecutive, like together. So another option is like it could be split up. It could be 11 minutes here, 11 minutes there. One of the things that like prompted was like if you walk to the mailbox, walk around the block, just add a few minutes to your thing. Or, if it's I'm going to do my math here. So let's call it 24 minutes, right? Let's just round up.
Okay.
So So that's like 6 minutes, 4
Uh-huh.
times a day of like maybe
Uh-huh.
standing up and doing squats and push-ups and jumping jacks, which to me sounds like crazy for 6 minutes.
Oh
But
my god.
nonetheless,
Maybe jumping jacks doesn't seem too crazy, you
that's because you
know?
don't have these.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
always
true.
said I never ran because I was like, oh my God, it's just so uncomfortable. But anyways, so
Uh-huh.
yeah, so I was like, okay, let's just, but the walking part, we talk so much. I know all of you listen to podcasts. I think it's just about getting up and like moving. And Jeanette said, I'm lucky if I get 2,000 steps.
Yeah,
I,
same. I mean,
we
we were
compared it the other
literally
day.
talking. I've been wearing my Apple Watch and I haven't worn it in so long that I had to update the software and had no idea how to use it. I was like, how do I actually look at my steps? And, what are all these different icons? And so I did get that going. So again, it's a little bit of a learning curve for everything, but the idea is to make it, for me at least, mindless, so I don't have to think about using stuff. I don't have to think about like, oh, that's in essence a habit, right? A habit of you don't actually even have to think about brushing your teeth. You just go do it. So like if we always know, oh, we have a break, let's go walk, sort of thing. Or let's get in these 6 minutes or let's do jumping jacks or whatever. I saw a kid the other day. He's probably in high school or something. I don't know. I don't know ages anymore. And he was doing burpees. And I
Yeah, he
thought,
was. He's probably in soccer. I used to do those back then.
yeah, he was running drills and doing soccer and he was all by himself. And I thought, to have that energy again, let me tell you, like freely doing burpees, you know,
To have your parents paying your bills so that you can just work out whenever you want.
would be so nice.
God, I didn't take advantage of that time. No.
Right.
Yes. So that's just something that we're working on, and what you track, right? I don't know the saying, but what you track, what you measure, you do. I have no
What
idea.
you measure grows is what the saying
What
is.
you
So
measure
if you don't
grows.
measure anything, it doesn't grow. So that's perfect because for the skill set, if you don't measure it, if you don't think about it, if you don't even put any energy or focus onto it, you just won't do it. You just won't do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a process. And
Brooke over
definitely,
here is Brooke saying she's putting on her physical therapist hat, and she said isometrics are awesome. What are isometrics,
yeah,
Brooke?
I haven't ever even heard that word, I don't think.
God, I used to. I used to work out. I don't even actually know. No, I did, I think. And I always think about getting a Peloton, but I was like, that thing is going to be $3,000 sitting in a corner just collecting
That's what
dust.
that matrix machine that I have. It looks like an elliptical, but it's a full body thing. That's why it's called a matrix machine. That thing was really expensive, and I've used it maybe I want to say in its lifetime. So I bought it about 3 years, like 6 times.
Do Pelotons, if anyone has a Peloton here, do they play the Real Housewives of New Jersey? Like, can I watch that instead of
Oh, you can put your iPad on the front thing of it,
or the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the Real Housewives of any of them? No, I get a Peloton. Emily says best purchase ever. Yeah, everyone has a different thing, but I'm always like,
Yeah, yeah.
if I'm talking, I could move my body, right? Like, but so
Mhm.
find the thing. We're trying to, gear up, as you heard, like me and I
Trying
have been
to
working
ease
on
into it.
we from 3,000 steps, we're trying to get to 5,000 steps.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they were so low. So I forget who said that on here, but ours were really, really low too. So do not feel bad. You have to start somewhere,
Yeah. A lot of people have their Pelotons here, so who knows? But it so the things that we've been working on this week are working on our schedule and marketing calendar. I know a lot of you heard the podcast earlier this week and then saw the live that I did on Instagram about getting you all ready for Mother's Day. So some marketing tips there, which is great for all of you because it's just thinking about marketing, right? We've got some other holidays coming up. It's thinking about the future. So that's what Mina and I are doing. We're prepping for the summer months, plus all of our upcoming launches. And then we're also trying to figure out some time in there to take care of ourselves. And so we're starting with 10,000 steps a day or 22 minutes of activity. So I hope that inspires all of you to try something new.
Yeah. I mean, the weather is getting great. I'm trying to wake up earlier and I'm trying to get steps in. Those are only two things. I was trying to also drink more water, but I'm finding that's the hardest one. So, I mean, the 2 out of those
Water
3 is, yeah,
You need
because
just
I
like
keep
a big
forgetting
thing,
about
right?
it. Yeah, I know. Believe me, I have so many of those containers.
I know. You have like a giant one, don't you? Like
Yeah,
like
I do. I do. So I only essentially have to drink that one. It seems so simple, right? But two out of those three I think is really great. Right now, I'm really looking to, because it seems like one is the catalyst for the other. So last night when I was on the Matrix machine, I actually went and got some water. So, I that's how I'm kind of looking at it. So
When I worked out, I drank water, not coffee. Don't worry.
no, it's too late for that. I don't actually ever drink coffee after 4 p.m. My grandma over here.
I mean,
So,
that's probably, yeah. Hey, okay. I have a little fun thing. I'm going to give coffee away to whoever could tell me what movie this comes from. All right,
okay.
ready? Excuse me.
Should I not guess?
If you know it, I'll give you coffee. Excuse me. I ordered the extra large cappuccino. Anybody? Anybody? It was like a
I think that's
massive
from
cup.
like 100 movies.
Nope. Not if you watched this movie a million times in middle school like I did.
Middle school movie.
I don't know if anyone's going to know it. If my best friend was on, she'd know it. All right. We'll see if anyone answers and then we'll see. I ordered the extra large cappuccino and it like comes up to him like this and it's in front of him and he drinks it. Anyone? Okay. All right. So let's talk about, oh yes, Christina Fail got it. So I married an axe murderer. Did you Google that or did you know it, Christina?
Oh, I've never even seen that movie.
Oh, you should have when you were 11 and 12 because it was so good.
I don't know. Our parents didn't let us do a lot of things. That seems like a scary movie.
No. It's Mike Myers. It's Mike Myers. And so I married an axe murderer. It's hilarious. At least I thought when I was in middle school. So Christina on Facebook, Sarah, will you get Starbucks? And she said she watched this movie so many times. Yes, you and me, friend. Have a sleepover.
Okay. So let's get down to it. So, first of all, I do have a question for all of you. So, Jacqueline said that, when we were thinking about this topic, it was actually super easy to come up with. It's mindset limitations. So, basically, limiting beliefs of makers. And then we added on manufacturers and product bosses. But I'm curious, when we say makers and manufacturers, are there people that identify with that word manufacturers? Because even though I manufacture my goods, I don't know if I would ever know to raise my hand for that.
So what do you all, yeah, drop in the comments what you call yourself.
Yeah. What do you call yourself? Do you call yourself, like I've never actually said, I manufacture labels. I always just say I own a labels company, that would help us discern, between titles and sayings
subject lines.
Yeah. Subject lines and stuff.
Okay. We got maker, a few makers over here, designer and maker from Lindsay. Laura Wood Studios maker, food manufacturer from Mix Makery, maker creator, jewelry designer from Kedora, designer from Joan. So jewelry, we've got designer, which makes sense, right? From jewelry and apparel.
Right.
Tartan Chickadee, a manufacturer. Do any of you identify with the word of manufacturer? Because you might not.
Yeah. Like what I'm curious about is that when we say, oh, our audience is made up of makers and manufacturers, that you're like, yep, I'm the manufacturer. Or it's more like, oh, I'm a product boss and that just encompasses it all. I guess that's what the question I don't know how to really phrase it. You know what I mean? Like when we say it in context, I think it makes sense. But is that something that you identify with?
Okay. So not a lot of people saying, well, Robin just said manufacturer. So, but if someone's like, hey, what do you do? Do you say like, oh, I have a product business. I sell candles. I'm a jewelry designer. So keep dropping those in. I love it. Diana says, I am everything. It's true.
Everybody raises hand.
So what is a manufacturer? A manufacturer, even a fashion, if you like, I am a fashion designer by trade, right? That's my skill. I went to school. I have a degree in that. That's what I could get hired as. But owning my own business, my own apparel business, I would be a manufacturer. I would be considered a manufacturing business, which means that I, as my job role, design the apparel, but then I get my apparel manufactured. So manufacturing means that it goes to someone, either you have your own sewing floor, you send it to factories to sew it for you. Mina technically manufactures her labels because she's not making them at home.
This is a question I get all the time because on Amazon, it asks you who's the manufacturer. Everybody gets thrown for on a loop for that because they're like, okay, well, I have a company in Seattle that does this for me and I send it to them. It's not that company. You are
You,
you are the manufacturer. And so I've never actually had somebody that understood that from the get-go.
yeah,
Like,
okay.
oh, I get it. I put my own name in there. They always think, okay, this is that person I've hired, you know.
And that person you
Um,
hired is actually the contractor.
right. Under
So
you as the manufacturer.
So to
It's
let
very
you all
confusing.
know, New York, New Jersey, and California, funny enough, my three places are the only, as far as I know, in the United States, are the only three states that require you to have a manufacturer's license in the apparel industry. I don't know about other places. You'll have to look that up. Don't ask me. But I know that from being that's my expertise, right? Is manufacturing apparel, especially in Los Angeles and New York. And so you have to have a manufacturer's license, which means you have to take a manufacturer license test. And that's exactly one of the questions. Because the contractors also have to go and take that test. But when you check off what am I, or if you were to get insurance, you technically are a manufacturer. Even all of you that are makers are technically the
Mhm.
manufacturers of your products. So
Right.
just so you all know, if you were to ever, and again, I'm not a legal expert here, but if you were to go get insurance to cover your business, you are a manufacturer where production is being made, where people are making things, you're manufacturing. Whether you yourself are doing it with your own two hands, or you have a team, or you hire a factory. So just to keep that in
Mhm.
mind as you're growing your businesses.
Right. And Amanda, you are right that it's used interchangeably too, a contractor and a manufacturer, because I have my manufacturers, right? But that's because I pay them and they go through me, you know. But in actuality, it is a contract I'm under, right? So
You hire a contractor to manufacture your goods.
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, but it makes you the manufacturer. But it's confusing because they're in the manufacturing industry, you
Yeah.
know.
And you are all
So,
technically manufacturers. So Janet
mhm,
says insurance labels me as a manufacturer, 100%. So all of you are in the business of manufacturing products. Even though you may dub yourself as a maker, it's the same way that I might dub myself as a fashion designer, right? Or a potter or a jeweler or whatever you want to give yourself on those titles, but your business is a manufacturing business. So new thing
yeah.
learned. Um, so
And
we won't use the word
so
manufacturer when we describe them.
yeah, when you said it in the podcast episode yesterday, it was a little
I
bit
lost you on
confusing. That's what
Instagram.
made me think of it because I was like, oh, yeah, somebody tried to call.
Oh,
That's what made it a little bit confusing was when we were in a podcast episode, Jacqueline and I recorded a podcast episode yesterday. I was like, oh, it's a little bit confusing. So, which brings us into our
wait.
conversation.
Before
Uh-huh.
we do that, we have to announce the winner.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. So, all right. So we are not doing a podcast review winner this week, but we are doing a winner for the Allie Kriegsman book giveaway. So she did How to Build a Goddamn Empire. We had her on the
Mhm.
podcast last week. Her book is amazing. We are going to give it away to some of you also in future times, but you would have done this on Instagram. So the winner of Allie's book, which we're really excited for you to have, is Amanda of Ananda. Is it Ananda? Okay, Ananda of Bliss Joy Bull. Bliss Joy Bull. Okay. I'm looking down at Sarah. She's a little person doing this to us.
Bliss. Like be with a bliss. I know.
Bliss.
It's like we're playing
Ananda of
charades.
Bliss Joy Bull. She's in Multi Machine. And she gets two books. So she gets one for herself and one for her biz
Yay.
bestie. So thank you for doing that. And then we're going to give away more of these books. They're incredible. Allie is so smart. So if you heard her on the
Yeah.
podcast, like she's just me and I listen to her and like our minds are blown. She is the co-founder of
Yeah.
Bulletin. A lot of you are selling on Bulletin. So she's just great to hear that kind of like behind the scenes. So make sure to continue to leave positive podcast reviews. We are going to start giving away the books to some of our podcast review winners. And so how do you do that? You go to where you listen to our podcast, you submit a 5-star review, screen grab that, and then post it in our Facebook group with the hashtag podcast review. And then our team picks one every week. So yay.
Yeah, I've
And
been seeing more of those and I love them. So thank you, everybody.
and Ginger Snap Wishes says she's ordering the book today because she didn't win. Well, thank you for supporting Allie because she's a friend of ours and she was so nervous putting herself out there like this, but she just did an amazing job and she's so smart. So thank you for supporting her as well.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason why I want to start with, and we'll get into the episode, but the reason why I wanted to start with talking about making and manufacturing is that I think that that's where the limiting beliefs begin. Right. So today we're going to talk about limiting beliefs of makers, manufacturers, and product bosses. And so when we said the word manufacturer, we had comments like, that seems more formal than or that seems more, well, let me get back to you. Manufacturing sounds so much more than my former formal living room. Right. And a lot of times what happens is our mind tells us certain things like that's not me, that's not for me, you know, and it's kind of rooted in that. It's why we identify with certain things. So when you say maker, it feels good, it feels comfortable, right?
I'll
But
also say this one. There's another one that says, I feel like being a manufacturer would mean that I make my candle vessels too, but I solely make the candles. So we start to like try and put ourselves right into these
in a
buckets.
bucket.
We try and say like, this is who I am and it feels safe over here.
Yeah. And so that starts with labels, but it's because innately we all have certain labels that we identify with. And that has always been our reality, our thoughts, right? Oh, I'm a fashion designer. Oh, I'm the creative one. Oh, I'm this, I'm that, right? And so we're going to get into some limiting beliefs. Believe me, we hear this over and over. So the whole point of this, of us telling you these limiting beliefs that we hear over and over, is for you not to feel alone. Okay. And that we dream of a bigger, we want you to dream bigger than that. We want you to take those limiting beliefs and not believe them anymore, because Jacqueline and I for sure believe that you are your biggest limiting belief, your mind, right? Because the reality is what you give it. Those beliefs are optional, right? You insert what you believe. Okay. So the first one, Jacqueline, and I want all of you, as I'm saying these limiting beliefs, in the comments, let us know if you've ever said this to yourself or if you identify with that. Okay. So the first one is, and this one is for the makers out there, right? And I'm sure all of you are raising your hand for those who identify with that. Just like I said, I have to make everything myself. I have to make everything myself.
Hearts, yes. In the comments, anyone feel this way?
Yeah. So we get this pushback all the time from our people, don't you think, Jacqueline, of that they feel like they need to make everything with their own two hands themselves.
Yeah, I mean, even just that comment right there where it was like that I don't make the candle jars, so therefore I am not X, right? So it's
Mhm.
that idea either that you have to do everything, like you have to. I'm in my mom's room and her maker room, and if she had to whittle these straw baskets herself instead of importing them from Morocco that she then paints and adds accessories to, like she's creating some sort of she's doing actually that she does not have to make everything herself. But some of you might believe, well, she's not really a maker if she's not weaving these baskets
Mhm.
herself, right?
Exactly. You feel like you're not doing enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that you can't claim to be a maker unless you're whittling these things together yourself, unless you're making the jar yourself. You're just pouring the wax, you know? So I think that that's where it really begins, is you understanding that, you know what? It's not so much that you need to be a maker. You have a business. You
Mm-hmm.
have a business. You're the visionary of your business. And so even all the most successful makers that we know, they are the visionary. They usually come up with the designs, or they came up with at least the original design, the original making. And then their team is the one who either makes it or manufactures it, right? So they're either making it in-house or they're sending it out to a contractor manufacturer, right? So that is where other hands are doing it. You're letting
Yeah.
go a bit, but it is your product, and you are, the maker behind that original design.
Yeah. So Olivia says, I like making my products. Yeah. We're creative people. I've been
Yeah.
sewing doll clothes for the last like 4 days, like that I'm here. And my daughter's we made a bed out of all these things. Right. And I walked around the other day and I was like, I am a fashion designer. Right. I went to
Mhm.
school. I learned how to make all my own patterns, cut my fabric, sew everything. We did, I know that I can do everything. But for example, if I were to start an apparel line tomorrow, I couldn't. Maybe I would make the initial samples, right? I'd drape, I would do
Mhm.
the things, but then I wouldn't necessarily be manufacturing or I wouldn't be sewing all of it if I wanted to keep up with the demand. Let's say there was a
Yeah.
big demand or the platform I wanted to sell on. So I want all of you to know, like, you can do whatever you want. If you want to keep making all of your
Yeah.
products, keep doing it, but you don't have to. And it doesn't take away that you are a handmade business, that you are a maker. It doesn't take away anything from your business by not doing all of it yourself.
Yeah. I mean, we all are born to create. I believe that wholeheartedly. We're born to create. That's why it feels good and things that we're putting out there. It's like we're doing things, even procreation, we're making babies, like that is literally what we're born to do, is to create something. And as an entrepreneur, you're usually creating something out of nothing. And it feels good to have that. But does that mean that that should be limiting you to what you're capable of or what your capacity is? Or if the demand were to go up, that you could give it to somebody else to make and that takes away from it? That is simply untrue,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And I also say I've worked with a lot of people in the apparel industry and they're like, I make handmade clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all of clothing is handmade. There is somebody's hands sewing that apparel. Maybe there's a factory that has, a laser cutting machine and you're not cutting your own stuff, but there are still hands to machines that are sewing stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it just depends on it's just how you market your business, and
Yeah.
it's just what your beliefs are that are keeping you stuck. So I
Yeah.
want you all to just think about this. It's not the idea. We just want you to know that you can still be a handmade business. You could still be a maker and not have your hands have to do everything. Okay. So
Yeah.
just
And,
keep that
and
in
and
mind.
focus on the word everything. We're telling you, it's not like we're telling you don't make anything. You just don't have to make everything, right? So while some people are like, I would feel lost or I wouldn't want to give that up. Agreed. There's for instance, there's things in your business, even Jacqueline and I still we keep a hold of. You know why? Because that's the magic of the things that we do, right? And so we're not saying, but we don't do everything because we're not great at everything. We don't have the time to do everything, but we do keep a hold of certain things. So if making is that for you, you do a piece of it, but you have other people that can help you as well.
Yeah, and I would also say, or you create the initial design, right? Like you are the
Hmm.
maker, you're the artist. So long term, we're talking about you growing. We're not talking about like sales chugging along and you have more product than you have of sales. But if you start to get more sales, it might be that you design it. You do the stuff that keeps you in your zone of genius, right? Maybe sometimes you do want to bead jewelry while you're
Yeah.
watching the Real
But you do
Housewives.
the
Like
first 100 because you
you
still have to perfect it, right?
Yeah, you do that, but then know that it can be handed off. And that's the beauty. And, a lot of the $1 million masterminders that we work with, I mean, I'm telling you, top 1% of Etsy makers, skills, right? They have done it all, but they weren't able to keep up with capacity. They weren't able to keep up with the sales and the demand. If they were to do it all, they would still be a $50,000 a year business versus a multi 7-figure business.
Mhm.
But again, it's what you want. So if you want to
Yeah.
stay where you're at, and there's no, you stay, you do you. Like my mom just wants to sell one basket a week. Like she
Mhm.
doesn't want this to be a business. She wants to do her own thing. That's fine. She does that. But if she wanted to do this on a
Mhm.
bigger scale, she could do that too, but she would need help.
Yeah. So the next one is I'm just not good at business.
Anyone?
I'm just not good at business. Who has said that to themselves? Right? I think a lot of
This
us.
person right here.
And I think that there's this push and pull between because I've never said that.
You haven't? Well, you
Mm.
got your MBA, so you might feel like I've got a degree
The
against
thing is,
this.
though, I've always felt like being creative and being business were one and the same, synonymous. Where I think that other people pull it apart. They think they either have to be a creative or they think that they're good at business.
But don't you think that you getting your master's in business, like to get that, wouldn't that kind of automatically
Yeah,
give you
I think
that?
it helped validate me for sure,
Mhm.
like in my own mind. Um, but I was really young at the time. Like I
Yeah.
actually graduated with my MBA when I was 24 years old, and so
So
for me, I don't know if that really like at that time felt like the validator that I needed. It was just I was kind of going through the motions that I really thought and wanted to do it at that time. But as far as, that, but now do I think that I barely ever mentioned my MBA, I feel like,
All the
so
time. Hi, I'm Mina Kunle-Cetep, and I have an MBA.
so I think that there's when you're coming from a maker background, a fashion designer background, you have your fine arts
Creatives.
degree.
Mhm.
There's this differentiation that people make it for themselves. I have my fine arts degree, or I have my bachelor's or my MBA. It's again the raising the hand, you know when actually you can have your fine arts degree and you can still be great at business, and you can still have your MBA and still be fantastic at being creative. It's not one or the other.
Super side
So,
note, Carla
uh,
says she never knew that you had an MBA.
well,
She
Carla,
she's on
yes.
all the time. She knows us really well. But here's what I want to say, okay? So we've talked about entrepreneurship a lot, right? And a lot of you have seen entrepreneurship in your life, or you have been entrepreneurial. A lot of us, and you guys can raise your hand or let us know, when you were younger, you were probably entrepreneurial in some way. You sold something. So that's how I've always been. I was like, oh, I could make lip gloss out of Vaseline and face paint. I'm going to sell this to my fifth grade
Mhm.
friends. Like I was always creative and entrepreneurial. I heard my son the other day say, hey, Dad, I have an idea for a business. I can make birdhouses and sell them. So that's
Uh-huh.
like that entrepreneurial spirit. But exactly what Mina is saying, sometimes without that degree or that education, because a lot of us were raised with this idea of like, you need the education to be good at something.
Yeah. We were
Versus,
fed something,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So there's lots of times where there's a blanket statement and everybody believes it. One is that a degree will only help you, right? That's a blanket statement. Everybody's like, oh, I get that. Also, there's people along the way that are like, that's simply not true, right? Those are the ones that lift the cap. So, for example, who would have thought the internet would have existed? Like normally people would be like, oh, that can't be done. Or, you can never make it to the moon. Or you can actually never um, fly a plane. So there's things that your reality is simply what you think it to be. Those people's reality was different. They didn't believe the people that were saying like it's just impossible. It's impossible to fly a plane, you know? It's impossible to have anything other than dial up internet, because in that sense it makes sense. It's going through the phone wires, right? So I
no
think
idea.
that example, but you
No
get the
idea
idea.
how a fax machine or the internet works. If anyone wants to know.
So it really is about, we've learned certain things that, for example, a degree is the way to go. It will only help you. And we've attached ourselves to that in our identities. But really, what's true and what's not true. So the thing is that when you tell yourself, I'm just not good at business, of course it's true. You're telling yourself that, you know?
And I would say one thing that I'll say is that, I started my business when I was 26 years old. And I ran it for about 10 and a half years. And I remember I had this client, and I think I've told you all the story, but I had this client that all of a sudden I was charging $10,000 a month for my fashion consulting business, right? That was the most I'd ever charged at that point. 10,000 a month to work with myself and my team. That was what I was doing. And I felt so insecure about raising the price on him. But then I knew that what we were doing was as if he had an entire design, production, development team, and it was worth it. I remember though saying to him, and I think he was younger than me, and I said, I was like, I sometimes think, I'm not that great at business, but I know I'm creative. I'm a designer. I can think on my toes. He's like, are you crazy? And I realized I'm telling someone who's paying me the most I've ever billed ever that I think I'm not good at business, but he obviously does think I am because he's paying, like it's validating him paying the most also to working with me. And that was like maybe 5 years ago or something like that. But it took that mindset shift of seeing someone else reflect it back to me versus that doubt in myself. So I want you all to realize, like, yeah, we can always keep learning. Mina and I listen
Yeah.
to podcasts every day. We read, we have like 3 business books we're in the middle of reading. Like there's always stuff to learn. You're showing up here because you're educating yourself on being a product business owner.
Mhm.
But are you not good at business? That's absolutely not true. You have a business. Think about all the people in the
Yeah.
world that wouldn't even start a business, wouldn't even know where to
Yeah.
start. And they could come to you and ask you, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business. And you, my friends, would have something to tell them. You would be
Right.
able to tell them how to start a business. So that means that you are good at business, right? Right. And you're
Yeah.
still always going to learn.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? So I got my MBA. I retained, I don't know, 5% of that knowledge, maybe. And the rest of it I learned from experience, right? Going through the motions, failing a bunch of times, retaining that information, and honestly coming back to it, coming back to it. Because even if you go through something a second, third, fourth, fifth time, you learn something different. Every single person retains knowledge different. So they're educating themselves differently. So even people approaching business is very different, right? And quote unquote, you not being good at business, it's what type of business you talking about, you know? What type of knowledge you're talking about, because clearly we all have done it. We all have businesses. So it may not be in the quote unquote MBA form. I don't even know if I could pass those MBA forms, you know? So it really is. You all are great at business. You really are, because here you are. You've done something brave, incredible, and it brings money into your pocket some way, shape, or form. That makes you better than other people that have just not even done it, right? That there is some business sense to you, and that you could keep fueling and feeding and nourishing for yourself. But you are good at business. Okay. So the next one is, okay, this one is kind of like a smush of a few. Either I can't make $1 million, I can't make $1 million, or $1 million is just not for me. It's for other people, right? So how many people think that, oh, that's not for me?
That number is really high. That number is uncomfortable. That number is not the
Mhm.
kind of life I want. I have no,
Makers can't be millionaires.
there's no way in all the things I could
I
ever
don't
do that
need
would
a
get me
million
there.
dollars. If you make $1 million, it makes you this type of person. To want that seems too uncomfortable, too big, too much. I'm taking up too much space. There's so many things tied to this one because of our money beliefs. I
Yeah, we're
could
getting
never
it's a
reach that
scary.
amount.
People are saying it's a scary number. That some people are saying it's that is for me, but it's a far reach. It's really high, but I want it. Somebody said I could never reach that amount. I can't imagine that much money. I think it's scary. So there is a big shift over the last, maybe I feel like maybe it's a year,
Mhm.
where people used to talk about getting you all to six figures. We used to talk about getting you to six figures, right? A lot of you do. Some of you feel more comfortable with 100,000, right, or a six-figure business. There was this conversation there, and what we realized, and I think this is amongst a lot of um, other coaches as well, especially among highly predominant like female audience, that six figures we were putting a cap on what we could make. Right. By saying six figures, it was like, oh, we'll only ever, oh, if you get to be $100,000 business or maybe a
Mhm.
$200,000 business, that should be enough. But that $1 million blows the cap off of it. Part of the reason why is that there's not that many women that have reached that. I don't, it's between like 2 to
Yeah.
5% of,
It's like the internet or flying a plane
yeah,
or
$1 million is like flying a plane, like inventing a rocket to space.
yeah. Yeah. But it's
So,
been done, right?
yeah. And we posted this on Instagram the other day where it was like, she's not your competition, but she's proof that it can happen for you. We
Mhm.
just want you all to sit with the fact, and this is also for the guys out there, right? Or anybody out there. We just want you to sit with the fact that it is possible. Do you
Yeah.
want it? Maybe you don't want it. Maybe you don't want it right now. Maybe you don't believe that you want it. But it is possible. And to have that, just that thought of possibility is the thing that's going to blow the cap off the ceiling you have.
Yeah.
It then allows, and listen, we could start talking about eight figures, but it's going to also blow your minds a little bit more. So let's just say, let's get you to seven in your brains and think about the fact that it is possible. You could
Mhm.
do it. You will do it if you want to do it. And just know that, because then it kind of starts to make things bigger.
Yeah.
You get to think bigger. You get to act bigger. You get to do things that would level your business up.
Right. And I think that it is hard for people to wrap their minds around if it does seem far away. Or somebody has said, I want it, but it looks like a lot of responsibility. Well, you got a lot of responsibility, anyways. If you're holding yourself to 50,000, 100,000, you got as much responsibility as you do $1 million business in a lot of ways. Because in that case, you're trying to do all the things by yourself when you're under six figures or all that. Lots of responsibility. For $1 million company, you have a team usually, or you have contractors that work under you or whatever it is, but it's a different type of responsibilities. but you're still doing lots there. Sure, it's just different responsibilities. So no matter what, it's never going to be like, oh, I'm not going to do $1 million because it looks like a lot of responsibilities. Well, that we all have a lot of responsibilities, no matter if you're making 5,000, 10,000, or whatever it is,
100%. And
Yeah.
the thing that a lot of you probably sometimes you can't see that for yourself is that you're probably doing everything. And you're like, there is
Mhm.
absolutely no more time in the day for
Yeah.
me to make anything else, to take care of my children, to feed myself, to sleep, to walk my dog, whatever it is. I bet a lot of you are feeling like there's absolutely no way because you can't see a clear path forward yet. This is definitely something we work on in Multi-Shoe Machine. This is something we work on with our masterminders because we get it. Listen, we're on the same journey as all of you. And so what happens is in the very beginning, as you're growing, if you're, under 6 figures, you're in that multi 6 figure, you're probably doing most of it. You're doing a lot of
Mhm.
it. And your
Yeah.
hands are dirty and your time is scarce, right? Time is a scarce resource. And like exactly what Mina said, you're doing all of the things. You're like, there's no way I could sell more of
Mhm.
this. How? So as you grow your business and you start to hire, the first people that we know that you typically would need to hire is either another person to make for you, like someone for production, or someone to fulfill for you, right? Those are the two big, like
Shipping.
first
Right.
shipping.
But I wanted to tap into exactly what Jacqueline was saying. She said, there's just no way I could do it. There's just no way I could make it to $1 million. There's the limiting belief right there, right? There's just no way when it's been done,
There is a
right?
way.
Every single person in the top mastermind we have one group of top masterminders and they're all $1 million makers, right? So it can be done. It's been done. It's been doing.
It's already been done. It's
It's been
possible.
on Mean Girls. It's like, or whatever. It's been brought.
It's already been brought in. I forget.
I don't know what it is, but the thing is, it's happening. So instead of switching it from "there's no way," is that it's definitely possible, and you can't see the exact path there, but other people have done it, and that it is possible, right? That's why things exist, but it is possible for you as well. So, okay, so let's move on to the next one. So
How
the
many do we
next
have?
one, just two more.
We have to
The
go
next
quicker.
the next one is my customers really want it done this way. My customers really want it done this way. So this was something that came up in actually one of our masterminds. My customers really want me to hand make these, every single one of them.
Makes me breathe out deep.
My customers really want it this way. Do they
Mm.
though? Is that why they're buying it? So is that a true statement, or is that what you believe your customers want because you've
Have
been
any
doing it a certain way?
Do any of you believe this? Have you thought about this? Because what it is more of like I've been doing it this way for a very long time, and it's what my customers expect. I think that's a little bit more of like a better
Yeah.
explanation of it. Like it is handmade. It must always be made by my two hands or the people that work for me. It is, it's made in America. It must always be made in America. It could never be manufactured somewhere else, right? Because
That's a good one.
my customers say they want it this way. Do they? Do they say it? Do they actually have you polled your customers and said to them, do you care where it's made? Do you even know where it's made? Do you even know who's making it? Or do you just love the brand? Do you just love what it looks like? Do you love the aesthetic around it? So I think it's something that I want you to think about because as you're growing and you're making the right decisions for you, your business, your family, and your team, you are going to have to decide how are you going to keep growing your business. You can't serve your customers if you can't provide the goods to them. They
Mhm.
like if you can't mass manufacture, then think about all of the or when I say mass manufacture, if you can't expand your business the way it needs to be expanded, not mass manufacture, but expand it the way that it needs to be expanded, hit certain price points by working with a different manufacturer, taking things somewhere else to make them, whatever it is, right? Your two
Mhm.
hands not physically making it all, then you cannot serve your customers. There will be
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of people that cannot get access to your products and they deserve to have it. So just think about that when you say that. I'd love to know if you've actually polled your customers and they've told you that, then that's an important factor in your business. But if you've never polled them and you're just kind of assuming it,
Mhm.
That's why we poll you all. That's why if you're on our email list, you do get surveys from
You
us.
over ask.
And then
Okay.
we give you things to answer those questions because we need to know, what do you need? That's why in the very beginning of this we said, do you identify as a manufacturer, right? It's good to know what your customers believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to move on to the next one because I
Yeah.
feel like that was such a mic drop. But this is the last one. I intentionally left this for the last one because it's a really big one.
Okay.
And that is the limiting belief on what will others think? What will others think? So there's lots of limiting beliefs that happen because you don't want to show up in a certain way. You don't want to tell people you're selling. You don't want to ask them to buy from you. You don't want to ask them to sell you. You don't want to ask your customers too many times because you're afraid it's going to bother them. So many of those things of what will your customers, what will your family members, what will your people think? What will the whole world think?
Because they're all
You
thinking
know,
about you, all of them, all spending their time all day, every day thinking about you.
right? And lots of times, our family members, for example, we accidentally bucket people in. So I'll show you an example that's completely out of making. But for example, I've mentioned, and you guys will probably never even know this. So Carla, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this in front of you since we're using you as a gauge today, that my husband sings as well. My
Wait,
Jacqueline
you're
and
talking to
I,
Carla?
yeah, no, for everybody. I've mentioned this more
Oh,
than once, and Jacqueline was like, "What? I don't remember you mentioning this."
she told me her
So
husband's a singer. I was like, yeah, sure he is. It's great. Good for you.
well, it was one of the fun facts that Jacqueline and I both have singing husbands, right? So it happened to be an anniversary of his cousin's wedding that he sang in, and I sent her the recording of him singing, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea he sings." And I was like, "Oh yeah, he just does it for fun." And then James was like, "I could get him a job on Broadway," and
100%.
yeah, and then he's and I've always thought he's so talented, he's gifted, and I was like, "Oh no, that's not for him." So even me as his wife was like, "Oh no, no, no." Right, putting the lid right on him and what he wants. And in order to, I don't know, it just is a filter, right? Like, "Oh, I don't think that he'd want that. He's told me many times that he doesn't want to be in front of people, whatever it is." But that's my thoughts. It has nothing to do with him right now, what he feels like he wants, right? His desires are different than they were yesterday, you know? So I want you guys to think about that, right? Like, even our family members, everybody has a different perception of what you need and what you want and how you come off and whatever it is. And it does not matter. What I think does not matter for him, right? It matters to a certain extent. But as far as his own limiting beliefs, he could actually just pull that right off of the lid for himself, you know? So, how many of you hold yourself back because you think it's too much, or you don't want to bother people, or what will people think, you know? And so, and then how many people do that? Because, like, see, told you, I asked that person to buy from me, and now my uncle told me this, you know? So,
um, so here's another way to present it, right? Because sometimes when you're a
mhm,
couple, it does feel like it's a representation of you. But I'm
mhm.
gonna put it in a different way. I've been, at my in-laws for a while and working out of a small section of the room I'm staying in, and
The corner.
the corner of the room that
Nobody
has a
puts
little
baby
desk.
in the corner, but they
They put
did.
me there, and I'll work all day. All day I'll work, right? And I'll come down at dinner time. I've done nothing. I have not contributed to the dinner making, nothing. I'm like, hey, serve me, people. No, that's not how I am. But I walk down and I feel bad. I'm like, God, they're going to judge me like I'm not being helpful in making dinner. I've been working up until this point. Da, da, da. And I'm like, what's my mother-in-law going to think of me? What's my father-in-law going to think of me? Right. And I'm all of a sudden thinking, what are they going to think of me? Well, side note, they both might have totally different opinions or thoughts, right?
Yeah.
My father-in-law might be like, good job, or maybe it's my mother-in-law, good job, thank you, while my her son is not able to be employed. Thank goodness he's got, a wife that's working. That could be a thought. It could be,
Mhm,
wow, she works really long hours. It could
mhm,
be, she should be with her kids more. That's probably one of my fears, right? It
mhm.
doesn't matter though, because everybody's going to have their own thoughts if they have a thought in that second, but are they staying awake and thinking about you all night? No. All of
No,
you.
they
You
don't
do
care that
you do a
much.
reel, you do an Instagram story, you show up and put your face up there, you go sell your stuff, like you know, open up your coat and you've got all your watches and you're like, buy from me. Who cares what anyone thinks? But also they're not thinking about you. And that's the part where I had this realization. Who else prays when they get on an airplane that it's not going to go down? I'm probably jinxing myself at this point. Okay. So I'm always like, okay, please God, don't let this plane go down. And then I'm thinking, who am I to save all these people on like what like maybe someone's got crappy karma in the back of this plane. Like my one thing is going to stop the whole plane. So, or like when, so anyway, so the superstitions and stuff. And it's like, it's almost narcissistic in a way, thinking that everyone's thinking of you. They're
Yeah.
not, they don't care. So we want you to live your best life. This is
You
your
do
life.
you.
Boo.
Nobody yeah, boo. Nobody is going to matter as much as you. Nobody, right? So your thoughts, because you're the only one that can decide for yourself, because those thoughts are optional. Those thoughts are optional. So you thinking that, oh my gosh, what do other people think, or blah blah blah, it's only holding you back. It does not help them, right? It doesn't help them be like, oh, I really don't want to bug them, so I'm not going to send out these emails and ask them to share me, because okay, you move through life, that person's not thinking, you know what, I'm so glad that she's not bugging me with those emails. So glad, you
Or
know?
I got this email and I'm never talking to her ever again because she asked me to help her. Like nobody cares. And if they don't
Yeah.
like it, they will remove themselves from it, right? Like if people don't like all the emails you send,
Yeah.
they will unsubscribe. But trust me, not gonna it does your
Yeah.
best friend or your mom or your aunt or your uncle or whoever you're asking for of something, they don't really they love you,
Yeah.
right?
We all hit this, right? Because even now, for example, like my dad, he loves Facebook, loves it. He's retired now, okay? And
Is he watching? Are
I
you there, Dad?
I don't know. Please, hopefully not, fingers crossed, right? So even that, every single time we go live on Bosses and Breakfast, I'm like, I hope that I don't have all these random friends and family watching, because I don't know. I don't know why, right? I don't know why. It makes me feel a certain way. Like I have to
Makes you
be
feel
a
seen?
certain way. Yeah, I feel seen. I feel too loud. I feel like I'm taking up too much space in a way. I feel like they're like, "What's Mina talking about?" Though he did say I look great in my blue black. He was like, "Oh yeah, you look good in those glasses," and I was like, "Oh." I mean, he probably didn't listen to anything I was saying. The point is that it does not matter, right? Because his interpretation of that was like, it wasn't even like he was thinking like, oh, she shouldn't talk about business, or oh, she shouldn't impact people, or whatever. His was like, oh, she looks good in those glasses, whereas I'm the one who's making it bigger than it is, right? I'm the one that's like, oh my gosh, what is my dad gonna say? Does he know I'm going live? I don't, just all these things that happen in your head, and they're your own scripts that you play in your own head, and they have nothing to do with what scripts happen in those other people's heads. Okay.
Yes.
So
So
hopefully you guys can move forward and care less about what those other people think, right?
mhm. And and just thinking about it, like the thing is again, this is your life, right? And these
Yeah.
limiting beliefs are your beliefs and they are going to keep you where you are, or you will smash them or you'll work on them. Because trust me, all of us have our limiting beliefs. We all believe certain things. There's days I still wake up and go, if only I knew more about business, right? I should listen to more podcasts. I should read more
Hmm.
books. Like there's times where I'm like, I need to know more to be good at something, which is not true. I've had 3 businesses that have been successful. Awesome. Right. So as you're thinking about these limiting beliefs, what you're doing right now is that you are together, right? You're seeing
Hmm.
on these comments that you're not alone in those thoughts. So I want you to first see that. Second, find your people, which you're here and you're part of our people. Be in our community. Those of you in, Multi-Stream Machine have a really tight-knit community. Our masterminders, you have a tight-knit community. We're here for you because we always want to remind you you're not alone, and you're not alone in these thoughts or these limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And
Let
that's,
these thoughts go. That's what you need to do.
yeah,
Let them go. They're
or work on them.
they're not real thoughts. Yeah, it is a constant work in progress, right? Your mind is constant. because it's all, like Jacqueline said, there's days where she wakes up and thinks that. There's days that I wake up and think certain things too, so it is a constant thing. So just remember you're not alone in any of it, but it is constantly working on it, and it's okay. You only have one life to live, right? Thankfully you're spending your Wednesdays with us. So
Yeah. And those of you that are, students of ours that are in our courses, like you're learning the steps, right? As you start to see things happen, as you start to see results, right? A lot of you in multi-stream machine,
mhm.
you start to implement and you see results. You're like, oh, this is possible. I see my path forward.
Yeah.
Those of you that start to be around community that are cheering you on, because so many of you are so good at this, like especially here on
Yeah.
Facebook, you know each other. You're like, yeah, go, yay Diana or yay Lacey. And so you'll start to be encouraged by the positive people in your world, including Mina and myself. And so we want you to just continue to work on that and put yourself in those situations. Oh my God, my Instagram. Okay. I didn't put it on Do Not Disturb. So it's like, um, so we want this for you. Keep showing up on Wednesdays with us. Keep learning. Keep investing in yourselves. Keep investing in your mindset. If you feel like that you have these limiting beliefs, maybe you get help. Like maybe you find a life coach, or
Mhm.
you find a friend that you could talk. That's how Mina and I became friends. We started talking about product, which led into small children and running our own businesses, which is what bonded us initially.
Yeah.
So we know it's possible for you as well.
Yeah, we bonded over lots of mindset stuff, right? Mom guilt, running a business, balancing all the things, what other people think, so many things. So
So many.
again, it is your mind, and you get to choose what's real in it and what's not real.
Okay, I have a really big favor to ask all of you. I know we always ask you for podcast
Okay.
review, but this is actually an even bigger favor. If you have
Okay.
not already gone over to the Shop One in Five pledge, it's not
I was like,
crazy.
what's happening?
If you're on Facebook or on Instagram and you have not followed Shop One in Five, it's our pledge to make 1 in 5 of your purchases from a small business. Could you please go over and follow and then share? We're working on growing that community. We're working on growing that list. And then you can head over to shop1in5.com and you can get on our email list to be updated. Now we are doing a push. So those of you that are in the directory right now, we're doing a Mother's Day push. We're talking about it on other podcasts. We're working on making it the place that people think about buying their Mother's Day gifts. I know a lot of you are saying, how can I get on the directory? We will in the next couple months be opening that up again because Mina and I are building it out into this really big, robust platform.
Not
Look at her
we
breathing in.
hired a whole entire team. It's
Yeah. We
been
ourselves are not
uh,
programmers. That
So
we
it's going
hired
to be
somebody.
amazing. It's going to be searchable via location, by category. We hired a very expensive, very extensive team to do this in the right way. And that is going to take months. So just get on the waiting list. We're super, super excited about it, but it'll be really amazing. Like our dream, our hope for the Shop 1 in 5 pledge is that it truly can make an impact, and it only can make an impact if it turns into a movement. Right. So
Mhm.
there is the part of being listed, but there's the other part of sharing, of getting the word out there, of actually doing it, living it, making it bigger into this big movement and continuing to do it. So that's what our hope and dream is for that.
So how do you get on the wait list? Okay, ready? It's theproductboss.com/apply now. So you can go ahead and get on that wait list. What we did is we extended the time on the directory for a lot of the people who joined. We have 600 businesses that joined last year. We get messages every single day about people wanting to be on it. We are so excited because, and yes, for Canada, it's going to be global. There's going to
Mhm.
be a search tool in there. We're super excited. The launch will be this summer.
And
Cross
we
your
have no
fingers.
idea how it works either.
What
Right?
part?
Like, how we're like, we have no idea how this internet works, right? So one of the things too is like people think it's like a badge of honor that I'm realistic. I like my husband, he's always like, I'm just more practical and realistic than you are. And then comes the roll of the eyes from me, right? Well, is it good to be realistic? Because your limiting beliefs is that those are real things, you know? So I just wanted to throw that in there because that was yesterday's conversation. What's real to you. So um, this directory will
Um,
be bigger and
Amazing.
better and more amazing than we've ever even imagined it to be, and will bring just small businesses together in a global way. Like that is incredible. We don't even know how that works, but it will happen in that way.
So don't worry. So if you're already on the wait list, you're there. If you're already in the directory, we will let you know. And
Mhm.
we're putting together like an awesome program because Mina and I invest in a publicist. We pay for a publicist, and one of their key talking points for us when we're on anybody else's podcast is talking about the pledge and then
Yeah.
directing them to the directory to make their purchases. It gives them a call to action, right? When people are like, how do I support small businesses? Do I go to Main
Mhm.
Street USA? We're like, well, we have a place for you to buy online, or you can support people offline. So that's one of our big call to actions. So it's theproductboss.com/apply now if you want to get on the wait list. But what we're asking for help, right? And you'll all know, right? You all follow us. But what we're asking for help right
Mhm.
now is actually getting this into a movement. So shop1in5.com or go to shop1in5 on Instagram, like the page or follow the page, share some of the stuff that we post, get people to follow, make it a thing for you because we've made it for you to help grow your businesses. So we need you to help us get more people
Mhm.
there and to take the pledge so that they can do it as well. So, and it's going to be different, Janet. So everybody will have access. We're still working on what the whole directory is going to look like, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be searchable.
Yeah.
There's going to be some really cool things that are happening on there.
Yeah, it will be launch we have to soft launch it, so in order to make sure it works, like the things, So that might be when like multi-stream machine students and masterminders get priority. And then and the wait list too. And then it will be open up to everybody. But the reason why we're making it searchable is that they can find anybody anywhere. So
Mhm.
that means that there's no limit. So there's no limit
Like
to,
looking
oh,
for
there's
like Toronto, like candle maker in Toronto,
yes.
where our goal is
Mhm.
that they can search it for a location or they can just search a very specific product that they're looking for.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll have other things on there that are like gift guides, like if you are looking for Mother's Day ones, so you can kind of be guided in a certain way. Again, these are like really, really big things that are being built out.
So
And
bear with
yeah,
us as we build it all
yeah.
out. But yeah,
But we're
so
so excited.
it starts with a pledge. So please take the pledge. Please follow us. Please share that. You don't see Mina and I on there a lot because it's not about us. The Product Boss has our faces. Shop 1 in 5 is about all of you and your small businesses. So we're here to help you. And it's not as of right now, it's not a platform that we sell any of your product. We really literally are a directory that links the consumer to your website.
Mhm.
So it's not like Etsy, Jacinta. So it's definitely just a directory for people to discover small businesses like yours, and then they can buy off whatever platform you want to direct them to.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yay. Okay. Thanks for being on with us longer. Thanks for supporting the Shop 1 in 5 pledge. We'll see you all over there and we'll see you
Mhm.
next week.
Yeah. And for all of you in our masterminds, we will see you in
Like a
2
half hour,
hours.
50 minutes. I don't know, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Thanks everybody. We'll see you
All right.
soon.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
friends.